Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om. Salutations to all. Lesson 18 we saw in the beginning. The first portion of lesson 18 speaks about the desire being the cause of the other five modifications of the mind, the vikaras of the mind. So in verse 26, it was said in Bhaju Govindam, Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham, Tyaktvat Manam, Pashyati Soham. Drop this desire, and hence the other five, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, and see the divine self within. Why? Because without this self-knowledge, life is hell. Atma jnana vihina mudha te pachyante narakani gudha. So that we had seen that why it is so. Why when we say heaven and hell, we have to understand that all the three levels. It's not a geographical location as a physical place that we think, but there is a subtler plane of consciousness. It is subjective also inside, it is in the society also, and there is a subjective plane of consciousness. Now moving on from there, there are certain sadhanas which are given, because when how to drop that desire, the last two lines said Atma Jnana Vihina Mudha. So attain Atma Jnana. So withdraw from the identifications with the body, mind and the intellect and try to identify with the self. The more one identifies with the self, more one will experience bliss, which is called heaven. And when the more identifies with the body, mind, intellect, and then the six modifications of the mind, more will be the hell. So now how to withdraw from that matter envelopments, the identification with the BMI. So there are different levels of sadhana. The next verse, 27th verse, tells us what is called as Bahirang Sadhana, the external limbs of sadhana. So there is Bahirang Sadhana, there is Antaranga Sadhana. Then there is Sakshat Sadhana, direct means. Bahirang Sadhana, Antarang Sadhana prepare a person, and Sakshat Sadhana leads a person to liberation, to realize the Atmajnan, to realize the self. So now what is this Bahirang Sadhana? So 27th verse. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dheyam Shripati Rupam Ajasram Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So he says here, so what is the meaning of Bahiranga, Antaranga? So why is the difference there, first of all? So that sadhana, which is a preparatory sadhana, which helps us to align the body, mind and intellect, that is the Bahiranga sadhana. Antaranga sadhana is that which will further tune up the body, mind, intellect and takes it closer to the self. And Sakshat sadhana is the direct means of removal of ignorance. So that's why there is a gradation. Preparatory means and then the direct means. In the preparatory means are these two levels, Bahirang Sadhana, Antarang Sadhana. And then contemplation is the direct means. Contemplation, Samadhi is the direct means to realize the truth. What we have studied in the earlier portion of this course, the Mahavakya, contemplation, steady contemplation on the Mahavakya, that leads to Atmajnana. That will destroy the Jiva Bhav, that will destroy the egoistic thoughts, and the person will abide in the self. So that's the direct means. Now to prepare for that direct means, the mind must be single pointed and subtle. That is the internal means. That will come in verse 30. But to make the mind single pointed, subtle and pure also, that body, mind, intellect must be aligned properly. So to prepare for that, Antarang Sadhana is a Bahirang Sadhana. So that's why these three levels. So now this is the Bahirang Sadhana. Four sadhanas are given here for four different aspects of our personality. So first he says Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. That Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranam, they are examples that such things we must chant. So through the speech. So first sadhana is for the speech given here. Dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajasram. Meditate on the form of Lord Vishnu. Again, please remember, this is all suggestive. You can take any form you like. You can chant anything else also that you like. These are suggestive. So meditate on the form. Now that is for the mind. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Go to the satsang. Literally here means lead your memory to satsang, chitta. But here it means the subtle body, the buddhi, mind, intellect, memory, ego, meaning the whole subtle body. Go to satsang, empower the intellect. And deyam dina janaya cha vittam. At the physical level, distribute wealth in charity. So now these four sadhanas which are given here. In the course material, if you see, Gurudev has classified it only as three. He has called it as the distribution of the wealth to the needy, association with the good, and meditation upon the Lord. So the meditation and chanting is combined into one. But we can take it like this also, as Gurudev said, or little more specific: speech, mind, intellect, body. Either ways, both are fine. So he starts with this body level first. The explanation, he starts with that body level first, and he says about the distribution of the wealth. So generosity, abundance that we have, sharing what we have in abundance with those who are needy. So distribution of the wealth to the needy. And what he says here, that the idea here is not to encourage begging, but the idea here is to genuinely, when we feel that the Lord has blessed us with so much, we must share with those who don't have, out of compassion, out of kindness, out of seeing the suffering of people. When we are moved, that helps us to also rise above body consciousness, that helps us also to expand, to become selfless, to purify our mind, to give up greed. So one of the things was said there, no, kamam, krodham, lobham, moham. So lobha goes by that. So when one has this attitude, then one will have the bhavana of seva, of service, not the ego that I am helping somebody, because of me somebody's life is better. No, out of genuine feeling that I have an opportunity to serve, and with that selfless attitude one serves. And that service is what is the purification that is required. It is not the amount of charity that is done, but the attitude in which that charity is done. that charity has to be with that attitude of humility and selflessness, that I am here to serve, and I have an opportunity to serve. What I have got is by the blessings of the Lord and the collective efforts of the whole universe actually. Nothing can be got by an individual all by himself or herself, nothing. So what I have received also is an expression of the efforts of the whole universe. So what I get also must be shared with the whole universe. So with that attitude, when one serves, then that example Gurudev gives here is of Gangaji. That how Gangaji, uh, the flow of Mother Ganga, it serves millions of people. How many people's lives are dependent on Mother Ganga, inspired by Mother Ganga. And so, why is that happening? Because she just flows. The nature of the river is to flow. And in that flow, in the natural spontaneous flow of the river, so many get benefited. How effortless is that flow and how selfless is that flow? That way, our mind, our heart also must have that flow of selflessness, generosity, share with people. So here is Deyam Dina Janayacha Vittam. Um, uh, Share the wealth with the needy. But it could be anything else also. It need not be only wealth. So wealth here is, again, one aspect is money, no doubt. There are many other types of wealth. The wealth of knowledge, the wealth of love, the wealth of appreciation, many other things. So many types of dan we have in our culture. Annadan, Vidyadan, Samaydan, Shramdan, Bhudan, Godan. But it is very strange. This country in which we have so much knowledge about Dan and so much one explains about Dan, still some recent report which has come out, it says that Indians give much lesser than many people out abroad. Dan vritti has become lesser apparently in our country. And people from outside have to come here and inspire us to give charity. So when abundance is there, when this feeling of selflessness is there, that I want to genuinely share what I have, make a difference, is my contribution to the society, then whatever I have, the idea is to give and to share. In our Chinmaya mission pledge, we have a very nice line: producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. That we have to live. Producing more than what we consume and give more than what we take. If we actually think about it, we are always under debt. And whatever we do is a repayment of that debt only. So as a part of that, the different types of debts that we have debt towards the Lord, we have debt towards the rishis, we have a debt towards our own forefathers, ancestors. We have a debt towards the human beings around us and all the other beings and the nature around us. So Pancharana they are called. Devaran, Rishiran, Pitraran, Manushyaran, and Bhutaran. So when we know that every moment of our existence is actually supported by the whole universe, so what did I give back? How much I consume? See, this is inherent in this culture, but somewhere we have forgotten, we have lost that. But in different way, it is coming back to us or not today. Everybody is talking about carbon footprint, that you must have minimum carbon footprint. How much wastage we do for the universe, that must be minimized. How much harm, pollution we do to the universe, that must be minimized. Why? Because my existence itself mm, is costing the universe. So one is that I must consume less resources and create lesser pollution and lesser harmful effect on the universe. Second is what abundance I get, that also I must share. So that becomes a duty. Many times we think dan is optional. From our standpoint of the deeper culture, there it is not optional. It is a duty to be done because we are already under debt. How much did I give back? Bhutaran is that beings and nature I must support because they are supporting. So in that way, when we understand this, then the mind becomes more and more selfless. So deyam dina janaya cha vittam. um, I will share with you one video on the Google Drive, which is about giving, and it's a very, very nice video. It's a 20-minute video, something which one Indian woman in America, she has spoken about that, and beautiful concept, and how Dan is explained in that, and what she has done practically to even start that movement and certain ways by which people can give back, and how she explains the importance of it is very beautiful video. Uh, just let me tell you when. It is called Giftivism. The title of the video is Giftivism, and the person's name is Pavi Mehta. Maybe some of you know also, but one must watch that video. I will just put it up on the drive, so later on you can watch it. It's a very, very inspiring, nice video, that how people must learn to do the dan. Not just dan, it is share your abundance and know that the universe is based on giving, and that is our insecurity which we feel that I need to collect more and more. The more one is giving, the more one is secure, and more abundance also flows. So that's where it comes. Deyam dina janaya chavitam. So that's the first thing that Gurudev takes up here. And in that charity, he also mentions one very important thing, which is there in the Gita, that where we should give the charity, what time and what place. Desha, Kala and Patra. These three are very, very important. We just cannot just blindly give charity. You see here one point he has mentioned is that the beneficiary should deserve what he or she gets in charity. Meaning a worthy cause I must support, not blindly give somewhere, and where that money is utilized sometimes for even harming the society. So we have to do what today they call as due diligence. We have to check properly the credibility of the organization, the money, where is it being utilized, how is it being utilized, is it utilized for the purpose for which it is given or not, is it very transparent system. So these things one has to check, identify, do one's homework, and then share. Because typically what happens is many organizations are there. They are popular organizations, so they are flooded with charity. Then we don't know how much is utilized, where, what happens. And then there are other organizations who are not very popular, but they are doing great work. They keep struggling for funds. So one has to identify very carefully, do the background check, do the due diligence. Noble cause, a deserving cause must definitely be supported. And in that, what happens is also that the support for the simpler uh, and tangible needs is much more easily attained. For example, if we go to collect donation for any school or a hospital, people would happily support because that's a need. Society also needs it. And if it is utilized properly, there is a need for it. It is support, to get support for it is more easy, no doubt. But when we say that we need certain charity to support cultural revival, to inspire people with the beauty of their culture, now that is subtler work. How will we do it? We run so many classes, sevaks have to be trained, organization has to be handled, so many things are there for it. Now that is subtler work. Still subtler than that is to impart spiritual knowledge, knowledge of Vedanta, that which will lead to ultimate realization, which will tell us that which is the beyond body, mind, intellect, that supreme state, the highest knowledge of the Vedas, the Upanishads. To share that knowledge is still subtler, because the people who are ready for it are also few. Plus, to impart that knowledge also, lot of effort is required. So the subtler the cause becomes, the impact of it is also deeper. And hence the daan for that becomes more subtler and more difficult to get also. Because very few people even understand that what is the need for this. That we may, people understand very easily the need for hospitals, schools, annadan, and no doubt there is a need for it. Very, very important. It is to be done. But we also need culture to be preserved, to propagate, to bring out the right interpretations of that culture, especially counter the false narratives. All that requires support. And then to share knowledge of Vedanta is still subtler. So there's a very nice verse which is written when we made Chinmaya Pradeep at Pavai Ashram. Swami Tejomayananji wrote this verse, beautiful verse. He wrote, Annadanam Mahaddanam, that to do the charity of food is great. Annadanam Mahaddanam. Vidyadanam Mahattaram. To do dan to support the education is greater, because I can give food to people who are poor, who are not having enough resources. So I can give food daily. But to support the education of such people and to make them independent, that they can earn their own livelihood, that is definitely subtler. So Annadanam Mahaddanam Vidyadanam Mahattaram. Danam Mahattamam Chatra Yat Shastre Abhayam Smritam. The greatest dan is that which leads a person to complete fearlessness. Abhayam Smritam, Abhaydan it is called. In the scriptures, the greatest dan is Abhaydan. What is Abhaydan? Granting fearlessness to people, that you have nothing to fear against me. So a sannyasi, when a person renounces the ego and egocentric desires, then that person is declaring to the world. So when one takes sannyas, actually one does Abhaydan, one gives Abhaydan. There's one step in that process also, that Abhaydan one does. That I want nothing from you. I renounce all my claims, all my expectations. Bhu sanyastam, bhuva sanyastam, suva sanyastam. In all the three worlds, I want nothing, because reveling in the bliss of the self. So when I want nothing from you, I am not a threat anymore. I pulled out of the rat race as though. So in that sense, how is that person able to do that with the Atma Jnana? Atma Jnana Vihina Mudha, what was said earlier. Without Atma Jnana, life is hell. With Atma Jnana, life is bliss. And that bliss I am here to share with all. So that knowledge which helps me to realize that supreme self, which helps me to drop the ego, that knowledge is supreme knowledge. And to give that knowledge, to share that knowledge, is the highest dan. So that is a Atma Jnana dan. Then there is Vidya dan. Then there is Anna dan. So dan also has different levels. And one must see how one can support the subtler and subtler along with the simpler one. So that much is about dan, and how that helps to inculcate selflessness in us, expands makes us humble, helps us to give back to the society, makes a difference to the society, helps us to evolve spiritually. All this happens with Dhan. Then we go to the next one, where he says, Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Uh, take your mind, strengthen the buddhi through satsang, association with the wise people. Earlier also it had come in Bhajagovindam, the ladder of rise. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktihi. And with satsang will come detachment, with detachment will come freedom from delusion. With freedom from delusion comes equanimity, nischalatatvam, and then with equanimity, when I contemplate on the self, jivan mukti. So now this association with the wise will strengthen the buddhi, will give the right knowledge, will keep up the enthusiasm and inspiration of a seeker who is walking the path. Because the path is subtle and one needs support, encouragement. Like even in the day-to-day life, we see, people who are, they have different groups. They have runners group. So every morning they come together and run certain number of kilometers. They have trekking group. Like that, groups are there. Social clubs they have. So where people come together of a certain mindset and work together, helping each other, supporting each other, motivating each other. Because individually I may lack in motivation, but when I belong to a group, then it helps. The group motivation helps. So in the same way is this satsang. So constant association with the good, and one meaning of satsang is that company of the good people. Company makes a big difference. And the second meaning is sat sang, means association with good thoughts, good ideas. So study of the scriptures, reflection on the scriptures, that also is satsang. It's not just sitting and listening to some katha or some lecture, but then when one goes back, one studies, one thinks about it and maintains the company of those thoughts. Sat sang, company of such noble thoughts, positive thoughts, inspiring ideals, then that is satsang. So when a person understands that very clearly, that this satsang outside with a people in a formal setting is a means for the satsang here, that I may listen to a lecture like this Vedanta course that we are doing is 1 hour or 1.5 hours a week. But to maintain that thought process the next 6 weeks, next 6 days, and further also, that is called satsang. So he says, Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. That people who are walking the path have their company more and more. And especially in this path, in spiritual path, it becomes much more important because the path is very subtle. The goal is subtle. The path also is subtle. Obstacles which come, one may not be very familiar how to overcome them. When one gets distracted because of temptations, that also one has to be very alert about. So satsang and company of such wise people or the seekers makes a big difference. So he says, Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Then he comes to Dhyayam Shripati Rupama Jasram. Meditate on the form of the Lord. Why should I meditate on the form? Many people think, no, this is all idol worship, form worship. We don't want to do form worship. I just think strange thing is the same people will have the picture of their boyfriend, girlfriend, son, spouse, anything in the display picture. DP will be that, or the phone background will be that, desktop wallpaper will be that. But that is also form only. Human mind thinks only in terms of name and form. Any object we think about, it is in name and form. Apple, we say we think of a red apple. The mind will bring a form. Flask, a form of flask will come. Table, form of table will come. Even feelings, when we say love, a picture will come. Either heart will come or a somebody whom I love, that person's form will come, some picture will come. Even when we say success, some form will come, some medal will come, some cup will come, some, you know, thumbs up sign will come, something will come always. So mind is used to name and form. Right now the mind is filled with the worldly names and forms. So the mind wanders and it is pulled by desires, because these forms create memories, create desires. The more one broods on certain forms, certain objects, certain people, certain situations, the desire to enjoy it, the craving for it, it will increase. So then mind keeps going behind those. Those six things then start. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, they start. If I have to come out of those and steadily think about the Supreme, then the form of the Lord is a beautiful means. The name of the Lord is mantra and the form of the Lord. So Sagun and Sakar, Roop of Bhagavan. Sakar means the form. Sagun means with qualities. So our culture gives both these uh, options. Actually, three options. Sagun Sakar is with form and with qualities. So I meditate on the form. Of many, many forms of the Lord, choose one form. Here also Shankaracharya wrote Dhyayam Shripati Rupama Jasram. Meditate on the form of Vishnu. He didn't say meditate on this form also and this also and this also. No. Any one form. There are many forms of the same Lord. That is the strange thing. We believe that God is one and forms are many, but still, when we have to choose only one form out of the many, we are scared. No, 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 no. This person, this God will get angry, that God will get upset. We don't want to upset anybody. We will just do this. It's okay, we will worship everyone. See, that is the first level. As I said, sadhana has levels. So the first level is from no form, at least I'm worshipping so many forms, to explore that which form am I attracted to. That's the objective there. And then there are specific days given for that. It's not that Bhagavan wants that day. The system has been created. There are some legends, stories behind it, possibly. But the idea is for human mind to observe that Monday worship Shivji, Tuesday worship Hanumanji or Ganeshji, Wednesday worship Krishna, Thursday worship Guru, Friday worship Lakshmi or Devi, Saturday worship Shani or Hanumanji, Sunday worship Surya. 6 days, 7 days are there, each day one form. So when I'm worshipping a particular form, then I can observe towards which form I have maximum devotion, which form I am attracted to the most. So when I understand that very well, this is the form, then that form becomes my Ishtadevata. Then choose the name of that Ishtadevata, which is the mantra. And then build a relationship with that Devata, with Ishtadevata. So when one does that, then the form becomes a big source for the mind to become single pointed. This had come earlier also in the Foundation Vedanta course, so I'm not going to elaborate more on that. But meditation on the form has a lot of beautiful results and impact on us. We internalize all the qualities of the Lord whom I'm meditating on. First point. Second point, purity of mind plus concentration, both will come. Third point, what they call today as neurosculpting. That if I hold a form in the mind for a sufficiently long period of time, I am creating new neural networks and pathways and also making that mind very, very strong, because the mind which is fickle will not be able to hold on to a form. So literally it is good for the brain also to keep one form in the mind. And the neurosculpting technique, they start with even a simple method. Just visualize a triangle or a circle, and ensure that we don't, the triangle or a circle should not shift. So if I'm visualizing a triangle, it should not become a circle. So it should not shift. If it is a red triangle, it should not become faded. The color red should be proper red. And it should not warp. The boundaries must not become blurred. No shifting, no fading, no warping. Just hold on to that form. Suppose it's a red triangle. Then only red triangle for as long as I can, I need to hold. So what happens, even the brain learns to hold a single thought for a sufficiently long period of time. That person develops tremendous amount of concentration. And hence here it is that we are not holding on to such a simple geometrical shape. It is a form of the Lord, full, with so many different colors, so many different features. The form is visualized. And then the devotee holds on to that form. The best result of that form is that the form which I hold in my mind, the Lord will manifest in that form, which is what Bhagavan said in the Gita also. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Whichever form the devotee meditates upon, in that form I will increase the faith of the devotee and Bhagavan will manifest in that form. Countless number of devotees have had darshan of Bhagavan also. So it is not that these forms are human being created. Bhagavan exists in those forms. So with that bhav, so form brings faith, form brings concentration, form brings purity of mind, form helps us to internalize the ideals, and finally the form makes the unmanifest Supreme Lord manifest also in that form. The devotee will have darshan of the Lord. So dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajasram. And one meditates here or here. In the space between the two eyebrows, visualize a circle, invoke the form here, or in the heart. The next portion anyway of this course is on meditation, so more we will take up at that time. But this much right now to understand. Dhyayam Shripati Rupam Ajasram. Every day spend some time in meditating on the form of the Lord. And then Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. So chanting of the Vishnu Sahasranam, Bhagavad Gita purifies the speech and also helps us to tune with the Lord. When we chant, so Gurudev used to say, chant, study, know, live. This is the scheme. That when we chant, then we will be inspired to study, know the meaning of it, and then we will live it. That's how it will transform. So meditation and chanting purifies the mind, purifies the speech, and makes a person ready to then finally contemplate on the Swarup of that Bhagavan, which is Sachidanand, which is one with our true self. So that's how meditation is supposed to be done. And such people, Gurudev says here, page number 6, if you see, first paragraph here, he says, chanting or singing the Lord's song would imply drawing out of oneself by proper conduct the rhythm or melody of existence, which means one's actions, emotions, and thoughts should proclaim the eternal oneness of the infinite reality. Such an individual perceives divinity everywhere. The innumerable names and forms of the Lord are the vision of the person of perfection of the one Narayana in all objects and beings. So using these four, when one realizes the Supreme, then the Vishnu Sahasranam is not just chanting of 1,000 names of Vishnu who is somewhere up in Vaikuntha. No. One sees the divinity in all the beings around us, and chanting is the expression of the sadhana that one is living. It is not just speaking. It is to see the oneness everywhere and to glorify that Lord who is there in all the beings and the inanimate things also. So that becomes the result. So one thing is to understand here that yes, this is a Bahirang Sadhana, no doubt, which will prepare the intellect, prepare the mind, prepare the body and the speech. So from that standpoint, it is a preparatory sadhana. But some of these, like meditation on the form, chanting, when they are done very intensely and deeply, they can lead to realization also. Like even satsang. Some instruction of the sat in the satsang that I heard, I take it very strongly. I am convinced by it, and then I live it. Then it will lead me to realization. So yes, it is an Bahirang sadhana on one hand, but also that these sadhanas by themselves also have the capability, some of them have the capability to lead us to the Supreme by itself. Like here how we said Vishnu Sahasranam. So this is about the Bahirang sadhana in verse 27. Then we go to the next verse where he says that if we remember in the beginning, two major obstacles which are there in the path of a seeker are greed and lust. So now Bhajagovindam is summarizing this portion now. So in Bhajagovindam actually there are three divisions of verses. There are 31 verses. The first verse along with the next 12. So first is the chorus which is repeated after every verse. The next 12, so verse number 2 to 13, they are compositions of Shankaracharya ji. Then verse 14 to 27 is the composition of one disciple of Shankaracharya ji, who was there with him at that time. And then 28 to 31 is again the composition of Shankaracharya ji. So Shankaracharya ji again picks up these two obstacles. The different disciples have spoken different verses. Now he again comes back to those two and he says that these are the two things, greed and lust. They veil the truth. Here in the course material, Gurudeva said extreme thirst for acquisition, which is greed, and passionate craving for enjoyment of the sense objects of the world. These one has to overcome. So what is the solution he has given for it? He says that do Shreyas and Preyas Vivek. Think of what is good, what is pleasant. What seems to be pleasant need not be good always. And human being has a choice constantly and one goes on choosing the pleasant. It may not even be good. So if it is pleasant and good, there is no problem. But when it is pleasant over good, then there is a problem there. Because then one is choosing only the pleasant, not the good. Like to sleep is pleasant, exercise is good. Now if I choose sleep over exercise, it will lead me to loss. I will not gain fitness. I will deteriorate in my health. So in that way, he says here that choose between the pleasant and the good. And he gives the characteristics of the path of the pleasant. So he says on page 6 that a characteristic of the path of the pleasant is that it provides immediate pleasure to the person who takes it. But as he or she pursues more of the same, the pleasure diminishes until in the end it putrefies to sorrow. So what is prompting one to crave for pleasure is this. What is this? Immediate gratification. Instant. It has to be fast, immediate. And today with more and more technology and more sensory involvement, that has become so much more ingrained in us that it has to be fast, it has to be instant, it has to be quick, immediate gratification. And so the mind and the senses are easily carried away by that. Sleep is immediate gratification, exercise is hard work, and it will give result at some point in time. So one falls generally for that immediate gratification. So he says that one should be uh, very alert and careful about, that not to fall for immediate gratification. This is so deep in us that becomes the cause of greed also, actually, if we see. Corruption is for what? For enjoying more sense pleasures, more comforts, more luxuries, which are a source of immediate gratification. So this immediate gratification is cause for both lust also, greed also. So he says that one should be very careful about, and when one indulges, then one gets dissipated, the energy drains, it leads to sorrow finally. Then contrast is the path of the good, maybe painful for the beginning, more effort, result comes much later, much more patience, persistence required, but that is the path of the good. When a person follows the path of the good, it will integrate the personality, it will strengthen the personality, the person evolves higher rather than going down. So Shreyas, Preyas, Vivek one has to do. Now let us see the verse here where he says how helplessly human being is attached. Sometimes one knows also, but one doesn't apply Vivek. Sukhata kriyate rama bhogaha paschadhanta sharire rogaha yadyapi loke maranam sharanam tadapi namunchati papa charanam bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate. So here he says that Sukhata kriyate rama bhoga. One indulges in these sense pleasures uncontrolled. Immediate gratification is the general term for it. Paschadhanta sharire roga. Then the body has disease, body has low energy, all that. Yadyapi loke maranam sharanam. Even though in this world one knows that one is going to die, there is no escape from that. Tadapina munchati papa charanam. And see, death is one cannot escape. Karma also one cannot escape actually. If one compromises, one indulges, one manipulates, so much of uh, immediate gratification one falls for, that karma also will catch up. So he says, Tadapina munchati papa charanam. Even if one knows that the body is going to die, time is less, let me, instead of lifting myself, I am going on falling down. Tadapina munchati papa charanam. So this is a warning words actually, that don't fall for immediate gratification. Don't compromise, don't dissipate the energy, don't you waste the energies of the body. It's a verse of caution against passion and against immediate gratification. Then he goes on to the next one, which is about greed, which is about wealth. That how by itself wealth is not a problem, but our relationship with the wealth should be right. What is said is wealth is a wealth is a good servant but a terrible master. So wealth should never become our master. So he says that. He gives the Pratipaksha Bhavana of wealth because we have an exaggerated notion of that. It has a functional utility, it is required in the world, it has a transactional value, but it should not define my self-worth. It should not lead me to discriminate that these are my people, so I will take care of only them. These are not my people, I will not take care of them. Or these, I am superior to these people, they are inferior to me. So that is all psychological judgments based on a very flimsy thing. Because wealth comes and goes. Why should my self-esteem go up and down with that? So he says here, Arthamanartham bhavaya nityam nasti tata sukhalesha satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi bhaj govindam govindam bhaj mudhamate. See, this verse is not a pessimistic view on wealth, but it is to deflate the exaggerated value we have given. So what does it say here? Artham, anartham, bhavaya, nityam. All the time think that wealth is calamitous. Artha is anartha only. Why? See here, Gurudev he has said in his paragraph, page number 7, fourth paragraph, last paragraph here. In that you see the fifth line. A warning is given, wealth is calamitous. Wealth is to be understood here in the broader sense. We should constantly reflect upon this idea to curb our uncontrolled yearning to acquire and to possess wealth. That is the first point. This Pratipaksha Bhavana is to curb this uncontrolled yearning or the greed that no matter how much one gets, one still feels less and one still feels inadequate, incomplete. And if I have certain things, then only I may feel complete for some time. And then again the craving starts for getting something else. So this acquiring and possessing, that one has to curb. So how will one curb? Reflect. Now when this was not understood properly, so what happened? People started thinking that what Bhajagovindam and spirituality in general is saying is that wealth and prosperity are bad and should be avoided. That's not the import of this thing here. What is the import of this thing here is what is the proper balance, relationship with the wealth. So why is that wealth called calamitous? Because the relationship is not proper. So Gurudev gives the example of electricity. If I touch the electricity with a wet hand and I put the finger in the socket, then what happens? I will get a shock. For that, electricity is not bad. My contact with the electricity was not proper. In the same way, it is with wealth. By itself, it will not provide happiness. It will buy certain comforts, no doubt. But by itself, it cannot provide happiness, which is what one needs, demands, happiness. Pleasure one may buy, one may enjoy, but it is so fickle and temporary. That we saw earlier, the path of good and the path of pleasant. Then the calamitous relationships are these three. Gurudev has given here: acquisition, retention, and parting. Page number 8, second paragraph. All human relationships with wealth can be classified into three broad categories: acquisition, retention, and parting. Why is wealth calamitous? Because there is problem in all the three. You see that. In case of acquisition of wealth, one needs to put forth a lot of effort and strain, and at no time is the acquirer free from strife and strain. To acquire itself, there is so much of struggle. Then he says, having acquired wealth, the question of preserving it arises. The possessor of wealth alone can appreciate the amount of worry and anxiety that he has to go through to merely hold on to what he has earned. Now, we are seeing that today, how much difficult it is to preserve that wealth also. Where to invest it? Will it be safe? Will it be used properly? Will I be able to get the benefit of it in future? Will it be my security in the present future? So many questions. To preserve that, to keep it at home also is a threat. To invest somewhere also is a problem. What to do? So preserving also. Then and lastly, parting with wealth is indeed a painful affair. No one is happy to give away their prized possessions. Yet every human being craves for more and more wealth and possessions. When the passion for acquiring an object gets fulfilled, one develops other psychological traits like greed, arrogance, pride, jealousy, fear. The fear of loss, fear of pain, and that my own child may kill me for that. Putradapi dhanabhajam dhiti. There is not a trace of happiness in that. Yes, comfort, convenience, luxury, yes, but not a trace. That's why he says, Nasti tata sukhalesha satyam, not a trace of happiness in that. And this is not in our country alone, this is all over the world. The same human trait it is. So then what should be our attitude towards wealth? What was said in the second verse in the beginning in Bhajagovinda? Yallabhase nija karmo patam vittam tena vinodaya chittam. With what hard work, what money I get, with that be content. Don't live a life of greed, incompleteness, insecurity. Acquire wealth, do the due diligence, invest properly, save the money, spend wisely, but no greed. Do charity to whatever means we can, and live contentment, live with the thoughts turned towards the higher. What was said? No, Kuru Sad Buddhi Manasi Vitrishna. Turn the thoughts towards the hierarchy. What is the goal of life? Beyond a point, wealth has it's only it multiplies also, but it's only there. What? How much can I eat? How much can I drink? How much can I enjoy? There's a limit to all that. After that, it has to be used for service of the society, for higher purposes, and finally, my mind should be able to turn towards the Lord. If I'm more and more attached to wealth, its acquisition, retention, all that, then the mind is going to be stuck with material things. So let it provide basic comfort, convenience, so that the mind can turn to do higher work, benefit society, evolve oneself. So that's where the bottom line comes. That should be the attitude with wealth. So now Bahirang Sadhana was told, and then these two challenges, which are passion and greed, one has to handle both. Greed goes by contentment, passion goes by doing tapas, living in brahmacharya, uh, ensuring that our mind turns more and more away from the body identification. So all the earlier sadhanas which are given, no, Bahirang sadhanas, they will help to reduce greed and lust also. And of course desire. When that mind has become quieter in that sense, having applied the Bahirang sadhana, then one comes to the Antaranga sadhana. So this Antaranga sadhana is verse 30. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya nitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam urvavadhanam mahadavadhanam bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate. So now what are these Antaranga sadhanas? Pranayamam. First sadhana is pranayam. Now, pranayam is what? It is the control of the physiological systems in the body. Prana Shakti is the vital energy. We have seen this when we did Pranamaya Kosha. The prana is there in all the five elements. So to absorb the prana, to conserve the prana, and to utilize the prana for higher spiritual pursuits or the work in the world, then that is called pranayam, which is control of all the physiological systems. Many times we say, oh, today my stomach is upset, today my head is paining, today I feel low on energy. That means I don't have prana in my control. When all the physiological system, digestion, assimilation, inhalation, exhalation, circulation, evacuation, rejection, all those are in proper control, body is healthy, mind is turned towards the Lord, that is pranayama. So it is not just breath control, that is called shwasayam. So Gurudev has also said about that. That pranayama is not to be construed as mere breath control, it is as it is generally believed. Control over life's activities can be brought about by disciplines such as selfless service, devotion to the Lord, study of the scriptures, all those, etc. Now, pranayama. Then, this prana shakti is conserved. How is it conserved? By pratyahar, by withdrawing the attention. So, we must learn to withdraw the attention. So, when I am doing my work, my mind must be fully in that work. I have withdrawn from every other distraction around me. I have withdrawn from the wandering of the mind also, or being lost in the memories. So fully focused in work, not being distracted by anybody around, not being doing multitasking. Then I have withdrawn from all those, focused only on this work. That capability one will then have when one is sitting for contemplation also, meditation also, that whatever is happening around, I withdraw the mind. Whatever mind's thoughts are and desires are, from that also I withdraw, focus only on the Lord's name or the chanting or the visualization, whichever means I'm using for my sadhana. That I focus on, remove the rest of it. Distractions are all gone. So that is called pratyahar. Withdrawal of the senses and the mind from everything else. And focus on one support. So pranayamam pratyaharam. Then nitya anitya viveka vicharam. What is changing, what is changeless, what is temporary, what is permanent. To do that vivek using the buddhi. So pranayam is at the pranic level, energy level. Pratyahara is at the mind level. Nitya anitya viveka vichar is at the buddhi level. To constantly discriminate that what I am doing, will it lead me to the realization or not. Especially these are, please remember, Antaranga Sadhana. So this is in the seat of contemplation I am doing all this. When I am sitting down quietly also I am doing all this. Apart from day-to-day life where I am using my prana shakti well, pranayam, pratyahar, doing one thing at a time, that is external application, but this is meant more here. The sense here is for when I'm sitting in the seat of contemplation, I must apply this. That the prana should not trouble me, the mind should be able to withdraw completely. And with such a withdrawn mind, I am able to focus that the sakshi in me is the nitya, is the real. Everything else that comes and goes is anitya. So don't hold on to it, don't indulge in it. Let it just pass. You remain as a witness. The thought came, the thought stayed, thought went. I am just watching. I am not indulging in it, I am not resisting it. I just watch. That attitude, that bhav is called sakshi bhav, that I am the sakshi, and the nature of that sakshi is Sachidananda, Nitya Swarup Sakshi it is. So that is there in me. In the seat of meditation also I identify having withdrawn, and in the world also outside. As much in the daytime I can maintain that body, mind, intellect are doing their work. This role is being played, but I am a witness of the role as well as the actions. I am not this. I am not this entity also. So then I am practicing Sakshi Bhav through the day also. So that is called Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichar. Constantly discriminate what is temporary, what is permanent, and hold on to the permanent. Let the temporary go or do its own job. In the seat of contemplation, let the temporary go. While doing the work, know that this is not me. So let it do the work. Then he says, Japya Sameta Samadhi Vidhanam. Do japa, chant the name of the Lord with single pointedness, with devotion, engaging the mind in devotion for the Lord. When I contemplate steadily, thinking about the Lord, losing my sense of individuality in that devotion for the Lord. That japa, japya. So japa literally means that which helps me to go beyond janma and papa. Jakaro janma vicheda, pakaro papa nashakaha. So ja means that which destroys the cycle of birth and death. Pa means that which destroys the agitations of the mind, the papa. So chanting the name of the Lord consistently, steadily, where to that extent one chants the name of the Lord that one forgets one's own self. Then that is called japa. And then that will lead to what? Samadhi. Absorption of the mind in that self, where one is experiencing literally that I am not the body, mind, intellect, I am pure consciousness alone. Intuitively one knows that. Till now one had intellectual knowledge. Now it has become intuitive experience. That is called samadhi. Dhi means the buddhi. And this buddhi of ours has a notion that I am Mr. So and so. That notion of the buddhi gets dissolved. And that which is Brahman, which is Sama, in that the buddhi becomes, that notion of separation dissolves. The example given for that is the salt doll. Salt doll goes to measure the ocean. What will happen to the salt doll? Merges in that, dissolves in that. Same way, this sense of individuality that we have, I am Mr. So and so, psychological entity, that dissolves in samadhi. So this is the antaranga sadhana. So actually this nididhyasana and samadhi, they become the direct means actually. Samadhi becomes the direct means, what we call as sakshat sadhana. When one does japa or one does contemplation on the Mahavakyas, then the mind will be absorbed in that. It will lose its existence. That becomes the direct sadhana. So, Bahirang Sadhana, Antarang Sadhana, and Sakshat Sadhana. Now, how to do all this? Kuru Avadhanam Mahadavadhanam. Do this with great amount of alertness. Alertness and great amount of alertness. Avadhanam and Mahadavadhanam. Why? Because this alertness, without that, the mind makes it very mechanical. So how to bring that alertness? One is to ensure that I do it consciously, knowing the purpose and following it properly. Second is that when I do this with surrender and devotion, then the benefit is very clear. When I'm just doing it mechanically, there is a problem because I don't know the purpose. I'm not following the steps. I'm just doing it. That is called mechanical. To reiterate the purpose, to reiterate the steps, to know very clearly why this is being done and then for what objective it is being done, and to invoke that bhav that I am a sadhak, I am trying to realize the supreme. When we reinforce the purpose again and again, reinforce the goal again and again, that this is what I want to achieve, and that invokes that bhav also, then that is called alertness. So I can do japa by just saying Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Or just before I start Om Namah Shivaya japa, I can pray to the Lord that Bhagwan, I am a devotee, I am a seeker, bless me with more devotion and more surrender that I lose my sense of individuality and realize oneness with you. Invoke gratitude. Have the bhav that I am a devotee right now and nothing else. Now consciously when I invoke this, now when I start doing japa, that japa will have a different quality. That is called doing it with alertness. Kuru avadhanam mahadavadhanam. Now all this becomes fruitful when there is devotion for the teacher. Because this is spiritual knowledge. Very subtle knowledge, not easy. And the subtlest challenge is to give up our own ego. How can I give up my own ego until there is an altar of surrender where the ego loses itself? So Ishvara is one, and Guru is one. In the highest standpoint, both are one only, same. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, we say that. But Guru is manifest form of that Ishvara. And the Guru leads the Jiva to that Supreme Ishvara. With great compassion, kindness, patience, giving proper guidance. So the last verse here in Bhaja Govindam, Shankaracharya ji says that a devotee, a disciple who has this surrender to the feet of the Guru will go beyond the ocean of samsara fast. The secret is this devotion and surrender to the Guru. So he says here, Guru Charanam Bhuja Nirbhara Bhaktaha Samsarad Bhava Muktaha Sendriya Manasa Niyama Devam Drakshyasi Nija Hridayastham Devam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So here Gurudev has said that the last paragraph on page 10, he says, devotion is emphasized because the intellect by itself cannot take one to the supreme truth. Intellectual appreciation of truth has to be blended properly with the spirit of surrender and worship, and it is this combination alone that reveals the intuitive knowledge of the self. The supreme self dwells in the core of one's personality. It is not something which has to be gained from somewhere, but it is one's own divine nature. So that's where devotion to the Guru helps one to go beyond the boundaries of the buddhi. Gurudev himself said that, I am grateful to Swami Shivananji who taught me the scriptures, and to Swami Tapovanam who took me to the edge and pushed me into the beyond. So devotion to the Guru will do that. Devotion to Bhagavan also will do, but as I said, Guru is a manifest form. Not everybody is capable of tuning up to Bhagavan directly, so one needs a teacher. So here he says that one who is surrendered to the teacher, Guru Charanambuja Nirbhara Bhakta, what will happen to that person? Samsarad Achirad Bhava Mukta. Quickly that person goes beyond samsara. How? Not by some touch of the Guru or some siddhi of the Guru. No. The grace of the Guru helps the disciple to control the senses and the mind. Sendriya Manasa Niyama Devam. Drakshasi Nija Hridayastham Devam. One will see the Lord in one's own heart, not somewhere out there. So the Guru's grace is no doubt there, but the disciple's effort also is there. The effort that a disciple is putting is guided by the knowledge given by the Guru. The effort that the disciple is putting is also to surrender finally this ego in devotion to the Guru, to the Lord, and through that realize the divinity within. So this completes the 18th chapter of 18th lesson of this course, and with that the Bhaja Govindam portion also concludes. 19th chapter is again the summary of whole Bhaja Govindam. So lessons 15 to 18 is the 4 lessons on Bhaja Govindam, and 19th is the summary, so that you can study on your own. Now 20th lesson, 20, 21, 22, 23, 4 lessons. They are about meditation, contemplation. So we will start that in our next class. And when you come, you can bring with you the book Art of Contemplation. Certain things are already there in your course material, but a few exercises are possibly given more deeper in the Art of Contemplation. So we will use that. And we will also learn the steps in guided meditation and contemplation. So that we will take up in our next class. Anything to ask in this today's session, you are welcome.
Swamiji,
Yes.
You said Chapa is Chakaro Janma Vicheda, and what is Pa? You said for Pakaro.
Papanashaka.
Okay.
Pakaro Papanashaka. It will destroy the papa, agitations of the mind.
Thank
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha Hari Om